Dear learners, I welcome you all in this session on accounting standards. Friends, as we have discussed certain issues related to the accounting standards in the previous lectures, so today, in continuation of the same, we will discuss the various aspects related to the accounting standards. So the first one is objectives of accounting standards. Friends, when we talk about the objectives of accounting standards, there are many objectives of accounting standards, and we all are well aware that the accounting standards have been introduced in order to bring uniformity, in order to bring transparency, reliability, and comparability in recording the business transactions and in the preparation of financial statements. So in tune with that we will now discuss the objectives of accounting standards. So the first important objective of accounting is to remove variations in the treatment of several accounting aspects. Friends, when we have discussed about the valuation of inventory, or there are other important aspects which are related to the accounting. So in case of any variation in the treatment of accounting aspects, so in order to remove that variation, the accounting standards have been formulated. And the important aspect of accounting standard is to standardize the presentation of the financial statements also. Then the next one is standardize the accounting policies. Friends, when we talk about accounting policies, friends, as we know that there are several alternatives and there are several choices as far as the treatment of several accounting aspects are concerned. Say for example, in case of inventory valuation and in case of pricing the issue of material, we have LIFO method and FIFO method and weighted average method. Now the question arises that which one method is most prominent and which one method is most important, credible and reliable as far as the recording the business transactions and preparing the financial statement is concerned. Likewise, in case of depreciations, we have several methods of charging depreciation. Now the question arises, which one method is most important as far as recording of depreciation is concerned. So in case where some organizations are following one method of charging depreciation, and on the other hand, if other organizations are charging different methods of charging depreciation, in that case, comparing the results of these organizations will be an Herculean task because of the lack of uniformity in the accounting policies. So therefore, there must be uniformity. Unless there is a uniformity in the accounting policies, the results of different organizations cannot be compared. Then the next one is add the reliability to the financial statements. Yes, friends, when we talk about accounting standards. And we all know that accounting standards have been formulated in order to bring uniformity, reliability, and comparability in recording the business transactions and in the preparation of the financial statements. So when the financial statements of different organizations are prepared with the help of these accounting standards or the policies which are framed under the ambit of accounting standard, then these results would be reliable. Different users who have vested their interest and who wants to take a decision about the financial position of that particular organization, they can rely upon the results shown by the financial statements of those particular organization. Then the next one is eradicate befitting variation in treatment of accounting aspects. So, well, learners, as we have already discussed, that when there is a variation in the treatment of accounting aspects, so accounting policies, accounting standards help us in treating those accounting aspects, because under the ambit of accounting standard, there must be the same accounting policies of treatment of the accounting aspects. Then facilitate in intra-firm and inter-firm comparison. So, well friends, when the accounting standards are there and the financial statements prepared by the different organizations have been prepared keeping in view the practices, keeping in view the policies, keeping in view the rules and regulation framed under the ambit of accounting standards, then there must be a uniformity in the recording of business transactions and in the preparation of the financial statements. Therefore, the firm can compare the results of one quarter to the another quarter. That is what we call intra-firm comparison. And when we say inter-firm comparisons, it means comparisons of results of one firm with the results of another firm. This is what we call inter-firm comparison. Now, the next aspect is list of accounting standards. So, there are many accounting standards which have been issued by the regulatory body, by the expert body in India. So, we will discuss how many accounting standards have been issued by the professional or by the expert body in India. So, first one is IAS, Indian Accounting Standard 1, that is presentation of financial statements. So, under this IAS 1, presentation of financial statements is made. Then IAS 2, that is, it is meant for valuation and presentation of inventories. Then IAS 7 is meant for cash flow statement. So, earlier it was Accounting Standard 3, but now this Accounting Standard 3 has been mapped with IAS, International Accounting Standard 7. Then IAS 8, that is net profit or loss for the period, that is fundamental errors and changes in accounting policies. Then the next one is IAS 10. It is meant for events occurring after the balance sheet date. So, there may be chances that when the financial statements are prepared or after the preparation of the financial statements, there may be some events which may take place after the preparation of the balance sheet date. Then IAS 11, so it is meant for accounting for construction contracts. IAS 12, it is meant for accounting for taxes on income. Then IAS 14 meant for reporting financial information by segments. Then the next one is IAS 15. So IAS 15 is meant for information reflecting the effects of changing prices. Next one is IAS 16. So IAS 16 meant for accounting for property, plant and equipment. IAS 17. So IAS 17 stands for accounting for leases. IAS 18, it stands for revenue recognition. Then next one is IAS 19. So IAS 19 stands for accounting for retirement benefits of employees in the financial statements of employer. Then the next one is IAS 20. So IAS 20 stands for accounting for government grants and disclosure of government assistance. Next one is IAS 21. So IAS 21 stands for accounting for effects of changes in foreign exchange rates. Next one is IAS 22. So IAS 22 stands for accounting for business combinations. Then IAS 23. So IAS 23 stands for capitalization of borrowing costs. Then the next one is IAS 24. So IAS 24 stands for disclosure of related party transactions. Then the next one is IAS 26. So IAS 26 stands for accounting and reporting by retirement benefits plans. Then the next one is IAS 27. So IAS 27 stands for consolidated financial statements and accounting for investments. Then the next one is IAS 28. IAS 28 stands for accounting for investments in associates. Then the next one is IAS 29. So IAS 29 stands for financial reporting by hyperinflationary economics. Then the next one is IAS 30, that is disclosure of financial statements and banks and similar financial institutions. IAS 31. So this accounting standard stands for financial reporting of interest in joint ventures. Then the next one is IAS 32. So IAS 32 stands for financial instruments, disclosure and presentations. Then the next one is IAS 33, that is EPS. It is also called as earning per share. Then the next one is IAS 34. So IAS 34 stands for accounting for interim financial reporting. Then the next one is IAS 35. IAS 35 stands for discontinuing operations. Then the next one is IAS 36. IAS 36 stands for impairment of assets. Then the next one is IAS 37. So IAS 37 stands for provisions, contingent liabilities and contingent assets. Then the next one is IAS 38. It stands for intangible assets. It means the assets which cannot be seen and which cannot be touched. IAS 39. So IAS 39 stands for financial investments, recognition and measurement. Then IAS 40. So IAS 40 stands for investment property. Then the next one is IAS 41. So IAS 41 stands for accounting for agriculture. Now the next topic is salient features of first time adoption of Indian accounting standards, that is also known as IND AS 101. Accounting standards are issued by ICAI from time to time to ensure the accuracy and reliability of financial statements. Well friends, you know that today country borders are no more barriers for the business. Therefore, India is moving towards convergence of accounting standards with international financial reporting standards known as IND AS. Next one is objectives of IND AS 101. So why do we go for IND AS 101? That is first time adoption of international financial reporting standards, and India, you know, the adoption of international financial reporting standards is what we call IND AS 101. So this convergence is taking place in a phased manner because India did not use the IFRS in its original form. Rather, India has decided to converge the international financial reporting standards in accordance with the requirements of Indian conditions, Indian accounting standards. And this whole exercise is done in a phased manner. So first one is the purpose of this standard is to ensure that the company's first IND AS financial statements and interim statements contain information that is transparent and comparable. Then the next objective of IND AS 101 is the cost does not exceed the benefits. So the IND AS 101 states that in any case the cost incurred on anything does not exceed the benefit, otherwise it will defeat its purpose. The next one is the statements provide a suitable starting point for accounting in accordance with IND AS. Today's lecture is scope of IND AS 101. So now we will discuss the scope of IND AS 101. So an entity shall apply the IND AS 101 in first financial statements after implementing IND AS. Then the next one is each interim financial report in accordance with IND AS 34, interim financial reporting for the part of the period covered by its first IND AS financial statements. Then the next one is which statement does this standard apply to? So this is again one of the salient feature of IND AS 101, that is which statement does this standard apply to. So this standard applies to the first IND AS financial statement and each interim financial report if any, but this standard does not apply to changes in accounting policies for an organization that already applies IND AS. Then the next one is selection of accounting policies. An entity must use the same accounting policies in its opening Ind AS balance sheet and throughout all periods that are presented in the first Ind AS. Those accounting policies must comply with all the Ind AS effectively during the reporting period of first Ind AS except as stated in Ind AS 101. Now, the next one is preparation of opening Ind AS balance sheets. So, on the date of transition to Ind AS, an entity shall prepare and present an opening Ind AS balance sheet. This is the starting point for its accounting according to Ind AS subject to requirements of Ind AS. Now, the next one is International Financial Reporting Standards, that is IFRS. So, International Financial Reporting Standards are set of common rules so that the financial statements can be consistent, transparent and comparable around the world. IFRS are issued by International Accounting Standard Board. IFRS were established to create a common accounting language so that business and their financial statements can be consistent and reliable from company to company and country to country. IFRS requirements. Financial reporting standards covers a wide range of accounting activities. There are certain aspects of business practice for which IFRS set mandatory rules. The first one is statement of financial position. So, IFRS influences the way in which the components of a balance sheet are reported. Second requirement is statement of comprehensive income. So, this can take the form of one statement or it can be separated into a profit and loss statement and a statement of other income including property and equipment. Then the third one is statement of changes in equity. It is also known as statement of retained earnings. Then the next requirement is statement of cash flow. This report summarizes the company's financial transaction in the given period, separating cash flows into operations, investing and financing activities. So, as per the requirement of IFRS, the statement of cash flow is prepared keeping in view the operating activities of the business, investing activities of the business and financing activities of the business. So, the entire cash flow statement has been divided in three sort of activities. The first one is operating activities of the business, then the second one is investing activities of the business and the third one is financing activities of the business. So, when we will discuss the operating activities, investing activities and financing activities, so just let us have a quick look to these activities, the operations activities. So, these are the activities which are directly related to the operations of the business. And the second activities, that is what we call investing activities. So, these are activities which are related to the investment. It means where the firms are making investments. And the third one is financing activities. It means from where the firm is making the requirements of the finance. from where the funds are being managed. So these are the three type of activities which are the part of cash flow statement as far as the IFRS requirements are concerned. So this was all about the lectures on international accounting standards and IFRS. Thank you very much.